On today's episode, it's championship weekend. Find out who makes that final push for the college football playoffs Final Four. Get that bag. Why are all these teams moving from FCS to FBS? And my new favorite section of the show, For Why. Wake up, Mules Nation. Time to dig in. Good day, Mules Nation. Welcome to the program. This is the Sports Mules, and I am, as always, your lovely, caring, concerned host, Eric Kiner. I hope everybody had a good holiday weekend, a long, extended one. Everybody got to do some traveling, see some family, eat some food, get diabetes from the amount of sugar intake they probably had. But I just hope you guys had a good time. And I know I saw a lot of stuff on online this past weekend as well, especially Black Friday. Black Friday isn't the same as it used to be. And I'm not really too disappointed in that. I worked in retail for a few years, and the last retail job I had was at a Toys R Us many, many years ago. And I remember it distinctly being around 4 o'clock in the morning, and Toys R Us, for those who don't know, Toys R Us used to be a retail store that sold, let me check my papers here, just verify I get it correctly, toys. And it would get a little mobbed, as you would assume on the good old days of Black Friday. And I just remember it being 4 o'clock in the morning and lines being jam-packed and a lady in line complaining that she had been in the line for a while and wanted to go. And I knew it was going to be my last Black Friday. I knew I was leaving retail soon, so I just wasn't in the mood. I'm not normally in the mood for nonsense anyway, and I generally dislike people, so I like getting in arguments. So she gave me, I've been in line too long. Can we do something here? And I essentially just said, the only reason I'm here is because you assholes are here. And she just gave a shocked look like, oh my God, I can't believe somebody said that to me, which I did. And then she basically just stood in line with her shit that she had and then left. Like, you came out on a Black Friday. Like, what the hell do you think was going to happen? And again, that's the good old days of Black Friday, where people, would fight for TVs and toaster ovens. And, I'm old enough to remember the days of grown-ass adults stealing Cabbage Patch dolls out of the hands of children. And people just, standing on counters, throwing them to the mob. Yeah, the good old days of humans being humans. Compared to the new days of humans being humans. I don't know which one's worse. I mean, they're both probably equally bad. But anyway, thank you guys for joining. As always, I appreciate wherever you're listening, however you're listening. Thank you for making this show a part of your day. I really do appreciate it. But so we have some things to discuss today. Obviously, otherwise I wouldn't be doing this show. But so big weekend for championship weekend for college football. Like I said, to really make that final push to see who's going to get into the Final Four. We'll discuss that. We'll go through it and try to figure out, right? I don't always have answers. I know I've solved a lot of problems here. JMU, I'll just say it briefly. I know people are tired of hearing me talk about, but JMU, hey, they're going to get a bowl offer because other teams stink. So they're going to finally get what they deserve and get to a bowl game. You're welcome, NCAA, for figuring that out for you. But a lot of teams have been moving from FCS to FBS. I don't know I have all the answers, but we'll try to figure some things out and just, understand if there's a benefit to going there. I don't know. And then we'll just go through some rapid fire topics at the end that have piqued my interest because, again, it's my show. So it is championship weekend, right? It used to be championship Saturday, but then the Pac-12 and some other schools decided, hey, we want some limelight because we essentially were constantly getting overshadowed by Big Ten and usually SEC and sometimes ACC over the last few years. So they decided, hey, let's go on Friday night. We get some rep for myself. So this weekend coming up, again, right, this is the final push for the college football playoffs. And there's some chaos that can happen, and then try to figure out where do we go from there. We'll touch on that briefly, but just to lay everything out here and go through kind of what's at stake right here from the beginning. So Friday we have the Pac-12 championship game, which to some extent is a little sad, right? It's the last Pac-12. Next year it'll be the Pac-2 or whatever the hell they're going to do. But so this is the last of it, right? A conference that has existed in some form or another under name over the last, almost 100 years. This is it. So Friday is the last day of it. So we have a rematch between Oregon and Washington. Washington is number 3. Oregon is number 5. And to some extent, essentially the winner of this has locked themselves into the playoffs, as far as I'm concerned. Right there's some things that can still go on that can change that, but it seems as if this is a automatic qualifier game. Like win and you're in. Washington is undefeated at number 3. They beat Oregon earlier in the season, but they are currently the underdogs. Oregon is favored by, I think, 6.5 points, somewhere around there. So this should be another game I've talked about before. I'm super excited for this game. I think this is a legit championship caliber game. And the fact that they played earlier in the season and played such a tight game and it decided by a missed field goal at the end, and some questionable calls by the Oregon coaching staff. But the fact that it was such a close game to begin with, now they're meeting again. Stakes are still super high, so this should be a great game. Excited to see it Friday night. And then another one, underrated, but it does have some serious consequences with it, the Conference USA game. I know everybody is excited to see New Mexico State versus Liberty. It was on, I remembered early in the season, I go, you know what would really make me happy? If I can want some team I forget exists, play some other team that doesn't really have any students at its campus, play in a championship game that has New Year's 6th implications on it. So Liberty is right behind Tulane, which we will also get to, foreshadowing, to be the possible New Year's 6 non-Power 5 conference entry. So they need to win this game and win this conference championship to still be in the running for that. So there's more than just a conference championship and getting to go to a bowl game on it for it. There's a lot of money, a lot of notoriety, really push that program going forward, which was always my gripe for NCAA and JMU. But it's an incredible opportunity, so it's super important for them. So the stakes in that game, although the matchup and the conference people kind of will overlook, but the stake in this game is super high. So I think it's definitely something to at least tune into and pay attention to. The fact that it is going up against Washington and Oregon is a shame, but such is life. Saturday is the big day, right? Saturday is the true championship day. It is the day we're all looking for. It's the games that we're really concerned about, and really the games that can really throw a massive monkey wrench into this college football Final Four. Right? This is the last season of the Final Four. Next year we will go to the 12. So some of this will kind of take care of itself, and it won't be as important other than maybe a bye or a home game for the first round of the way that they're going to do things. But for the last year of just the 4, this weekend and this Saturday has massive consequences, things going on. So Saturday night we have the Big 12 championship, which also, right? Or I'm sorry, the day it's the Big 12 championship, which is the last for this format, right? They're getting a couple new teams next year, but Texas and Oklahoma are leaving to go to the SEC. And this year, so we have Texas and Oklahoma State playing for the Big 12 championship. And Texas is still in a fight to get a Final Four, right? Depending on how some things go, they have a possibility to still make it into the playoffs. They have that win over Alabama, which is one we'll touch on here in a second. But they have the win over Alabama, and if they win this championship, and if some things go sideways for some other teams, they have a legit claim to say, hey, I think we deserve to make it into the Final Four. Now, do I personally believe they deserve to make it in? Not really. They had a big win against Alabama early in the season when Alabama was still figuring some things out, and Texas was really feeling themselves and really coming out of the gates. But they've been up and down mediocre, really. I mean, let's be honest, the rest of the season. So, I know they'll have a great record. They'll have a championship and they'll have a win over Alabama. And naturally, people in Texas are, football fanatics like they are some crackhead down in Philly. But if you're honest about it, are they qualified? Yes. Are they deserving? I would say no. But again, that's my opinion, and nobody really cares what I think. But Texas is really looking at the next game we'll discuss here, which is the SEC championship. Alabama and Georgia, which is to some extent, the inevitable. It's kind of what we all thought it was going to be. I know some people thought LSU had a chance, but LSU is coached by someone who they got exactly what they're going to say. I'm not going to mention any names, Brian Kelly, but we saw what he did at Notre Dame. I don't know what LSU thought they were going to get, but anywho, so Alabama versus Georgia. The only time Alabama has not been a favorite in the last decade or so, 4 or 5 games, and they've all been to Georgia. And this one is no exception. They are underdogs to Georgia. Naturally, Georgia is the number 1 team in the nation, 2-time defending champs. The only game that Georgia has lost in the last 2 years, or 3 years, I should say, was to Alabama in the SEC championship game 3 seasons ago. So the craziness that can come here is if Alabama wins and beats Georgia, which is a possibility, right? If Alabama beats Georgia and Michigan wins and Florida State wins, does Georgia still get to stay in? Is Washington going to get kicked out if they lose and Oregon goes in? Is Florida State going to get removed even if they do win? Are they locked in if they win? Does Texas get in then? Does Alabama get to go in? So the Alabama-Georgia game is massive because if Alabama wins, that really starts the dominoes, right? Because the ACC championship game, Louisville versus Louisville. Sorry, everyone. Louisville versus Florida State. Florida State should win, but again, right? They've had their quarterback go down. Some questions there that they did find against Florida last week, but again, right? This is a championship game. Anything could happen. And going forward, I know they got moved up back into the championship 4, but are they there because they deserve to be there? Are they there because they were undefeated? So, but I don't think people are looking at the Florida State game as the one. Iowa versus Michigan in the Big Ten championship game. I think I have scored as many touchdowns this season as Iowa's offense. Iowa's defense is obviously has brought them to this point, and Michigan is getting Harbaugh back and everything. Be kumbaya, and everything's good again. But I also think Michigan in this game needs to come out and send a message of not only are they deserving of it, but hey, we are prepared and going forward to go into this playoffs. Because the last couple of years, right, they've blown through the regular season, they blow through the Big Ten, they've defeated Ohio State, they've done all the things they wanted to do, and then they've gotten to the college football playoffs and just completely choked. 2 years ago, last year with TCU, which is the beginning of the sign stealing and all that good stuff. Are they going to make that next leap? Right? Are they going to win this bowl game? Is he going to figure out a way how to do it? But those are all questions, right? You got to get to the playoffs first. But I'm getting ahead of myself. But I think everybody feels Michigan could win. I think they're a better team. They're a more complete team. And even with that incredible defense that Iowa has, they should still be able to get that victory. So if Michigan wins, as we suspect, if Florida State wins, as we believe, if Texas wins, as we think they will, it comes down to two games, right? Friday night, Pac-12 championship, Washington and Oregon. They're both going to have to make their case why they deserve to be in. And then Alabama and Georgia is the ultimate big one, because if Alabama wins, which is a possibility, what's going to happen, right? Then chaos really breaks loose. So there's just a lot of things going on this weekend. And then the American Athletic Conference, SMU versus Tulane. Right now, Tulane is the leader to get back to another New Year's Six Bowl, right? They got to one last year. They went in the Cotton Bowl, played USC, had a great come-behind victory, won the last second. So if Tulane can make it back to another New Year's Six Bowl and really show the not only the progress of the program, but the stability of the program, be like, hey, we weren't just a flash in the pan. This is now 2 years in a row we've been able to do this. And if the administration down there is sinking money into the program, they can really, prove themselves to other larger programs, ACC or whatever, Pac-2 is starting to divulge into, or whomever. They can say, hey, look, we're a valid candidate for, to join some other conference here. But so Tulane and Liberty, right, they're kind of going up against each other to figure out, who's going to make this New Year's Six Bowl and who's going to be a representative and really show off their program. But this weekend, right, there's not many games left. There's not many teams left, right, before we get to bowl season, which we'll cover next week, because Sunday, when the final rankings and selection comes out, then all the bowls will be put out there as well. So we'll cover that next week. But this is the one, right? This is the last push for the Final Four. The last couple of years, it's kind of been like, yeah, these are kind of the top three. Who's going to be number 4? But I think this year, depending on one or two games, it could really just send everything into chaos. So be on the lookout for that. Championship weekend, Pac-12, RIP. Thanks for the memories. So subject 2 for the day is not really a me making a statement on how things could be fixed, or if it's a negative or a plus, or anything of that nature, right? This is me just kind of recording a free thought here. So in the last few years, the teams that have moved from FCS, right, the football championship subdivision, the old NCAA 1AA division, who have then moved up to FBS, which is the top level, our Bama's, Penn State's, Michigan's, USC's of the world. Over the last few years, has kind of grown and grown quickly compared to what it used to be, right? Every now and then a program would make a jump, but it was rare. But over the last 20 years, so many teams have jumped up, and that's kind of the reason why we have all of these conferences now. It's part of the reason why the massive conference realignment happened, and why the SEC has grown, and why the Big Ten has grown, and why the ACC grew, and why the Pac-12 is dead, is because all of these smaller schools have moved up and created, All-American Conference, and back in the day, Conference USA. The WAC used to be one, which became the Mountain West. But all of these programs have moved up, and part of the push to have conference realignment and have all these massive schools join these other massive conferences is because the piece of the pie that they used to get was kind of somewhat secured, and they got a large portion of it. But the more teams that moved up, and the more of these idiotic bowl games that we've gotten, the pie has gotten smaller kind of for each school. I know most of these conferences, the way it works is that you join the conference. If you go to a bowl game, all the money that's made from all the schools in the bowl game, big or small, gets just put into a massive pot, and then that gets distributed to all the conferences equally. So, but what you would get in the notoriety you would get from maybe a big game is harder now because there's more bowls and there's more teams. So you're fighting for. It seems like you would have an easier time, but it's a more difficult time to get to a better bowl game, or sometimes just get to a bowl game. But the pot sharing is part of the reason, at least I think, that a lot of these schools have made the jump up to the higher division. So just the last couple of years, right? So earlier this week, Delaware said, "Hey, we are joining. We're moving up to FBS. I believe they're joining Conference USA in 2025." Kennesaw State made the jump last year. They had to be an independent, but they are also joining in next year into Conference USA. Sam Houston and Jacksonville State made the jump this year. And I don't know if you guys have heard about this. There's a school, I think they're called James Madison. I don't know. I don't really know much about it. I haven't done much research. But James Madison made the jump last year. And they've been successful. And then in a few years previous, Western Kentucky has joined, and Marshall has joined probably 10, 15 years ago at this point. But for Western Kentucky, well, and also for James Madison, but for Marshall and Western Kentucky, James Madison, Sam Houston, they have all won national championships at the FCS level. They have all been very good, very competitive programs, not only winning their conferences, but competing legitimately for national championships at that level. And they have all made the jump for what I can only assume is a perceived money grab. But I'm not 100% sure what they think is going on or going to happen, simply because you're at a different football level. Because some of these other schools have programs that have been competing at a higher level for years anyway. Delaware, for example, right? Their basketball programs have already been at a higher level. So now moving up to football, I understand the desire to move up there, to be in a bigger conference, to be, get more notoriety, and to go to bowl games and maybe have, schools and people in Florida and Texas know who you are, but they would probably know who you are already. Like, I'm pretty sure people Florida and Texas know who North Dakota State is. They may not be able to pick it out on a map, but they know how they are because North Dakota State has had, a decade plus of massive success at the FCS level. All those national championships appearances, guys getting drafted in the NFL, Carson Wentz as an example. So people know who they are. So to make a decision, let's move up because of that, it seems a little, goofy and loose at times, especially when Delaware has said that they have been thinking about this for a year or so to move up. A year or so. And their move up now, which, hey, great for the football program and all 8,000 people that have been coming to these games. But so it's great for the football program, but they will now have essentially 7 sports who will not have a conference anymore. So who are these making these decisions for? The student athletes? Well, you just screwed a majority of your teams. Are you making it for financial reasons? How much money are you going to earn at Conference USA for the 3 bowl games that these teams are going to go to? How much money are you making? What is your expenses now for traveling? Because I got to tell you, so New Mexico State, as we mentioned in the previous segment for the Conference USA Championship, New Mexico State is, I think, the farthest west program, right? There's 2 in Texas, there's Western Kentucky, Alabama, Louisiana, blah, blah, blah. But you're now going to have to fly out from Delaware to New Mexico for games for all of these programs. What's that cost? What is that going to cost you? And again, of just these few that I've given you, right? Marshall was winning national championships, multiple at FCS, 1AA level at the time, right? They've moved up and have been a team. That's it. They've jumped around for about 3 conferences trying to figure out where they belong. They were in the MAC for a while. I don't know if you know where Marshall is. It's in West Virginia. I guess that counts as Mid-America. But they've been in a couple conferences, haven't been able to figure out. Appalachian State as well. There's another one. Winning national championships, move over. They had their big breakout win against Michigan years ago, although they were 1AA when they did that. They've moved up and have also been a team. Western Kentucky, they've had bright points, but also just a program. Nothing spectacular. Kennesaw State, do you know where it is? I know where it is. Do you know where it is? I'm going to make you guys do some work. Go figure out where Kennesaw State is. Sam Houston and Jacksonville move up. Sam Houston, go Google them. Go Google them. Go look at their facilities. Go look at their stadium. Go look at where they're at. Go look at the facilities, wink, that's next door to the campus, and see where they are. Are these really top-tier level programs in schools, facility? I'm not trying to diss anybody, but you're moving up for this notoriety and this cash grab to where, what notoriety are you getting? What cash are you making? I just don't understand. You are at a division where you're competing for national champ. That's how you get clout. That's how you get notoriety. Congratulations to these programs who have moved up and are just going to be a school. And the thing that irritates me the most of all this is the one program that has done everything properly as they should, right? James Madison spent a decade working on their facilities first for all of their sports, not just football. Working on all their facilities for all their sports, working with the school about what they can do, what's the best way to do it. They had a decade-long plan to get to where they are now, and they won national championships, competed for national championships, moved up to the next level, and have been a phenomenal program these last 2 years. They're 11-1 right now. They did everything they were supposed to, did it properly. We've discussed it previously. I'm not going to get into it, but had their arguments with the NCAA. Did what they were supposed to do. They are the model. Delaware woke up on Monday and said, "Oh shit, let's move up." And somebody went, "Okay, that seems cool," and then had an announcement and didn't make any other plans for anybody else, and just we'll figure it out as we go. No, you're supposed to figure it out beforehand, not after the fact. So it just amazes me because, again, as we've discussed on these programs, I care highly about the student athlete, right? Them, their physical safety, their mental safety, how they're treated, their enjoyment of their college careers, whether it be on the field or in the classroom. I care about them, and I see and I hear stuff like this, and I go, I just don't get it. I just don't understand it. What are you doing? What is the purpose of this? And especially when it comes at the detriment of your other programs, which you apparently just did not give a shit about or consider at all. What are you going to do with lacrosse? What are you doing with field hockey? And you're going to start a new women's hockey program? You're going to do all these things, and you didn't consider any of this? You're just like, we'll get there and we'll figure it out when we're there. It's just idiotic, and it just proves, without a shadow of a doubt, that you really just don't care about the people you pretend to be worried about and are supposed to watch over. You're worried about a name and a notoriety and getting awareness from people who either don't care after the fact anyway or probably know you exist to begin with. So you're going for money that I don't think is there. You're going for clout that I don't think you're ever going to get anyway. So what's important to you? Money and recognition, or actually doing your job and being a proper athletic department and administration that takes care of all your student athletes and all your students at a school, not just being concerned about a football program and what shit bowl you get to go to. And now for the last segment of the program today. This is a new one I created because I was preparing for the week. Again, I know it doesn't seem like I do like research or prepare or look at anything, but I do some. I do some. All right. I mean, when you're sitting around just drinking straight gin out of the bottle, sometimes you see something on TV and you go, "Oh, that seems interesting." So these are just a few things that have caught my attention in the last few days, and I just wanted to again, right, freeform, just spit things out of my mouth and see what you guys think about all of this. So my section here, so for why, is basically just there's some things that I just am curious as to why. What is the point of this? Why would you do this? Why is this going on? Or just generally piqued my interest. The first one here we'll start off with is so the Sands is buying a majority of the Dallas Mavericks for $3.5 billion. And part of the reason, well, the main reason that just interests me is that, so when I first started in the casino business, Casinoverse, can I say that? Is that a trademark? Well, technically I work for them, so I can say it. So in the casino business, I worked for Sands before they sold the property to the new owners. But I worked at Sands, and I just find it interesting that Sands has enough money, $3.5 billion, to buy the majority of the Mavericks, but didn't have enough money to pay me a decent human being salary. So that's just my thought on that one. So mazel tov to you, Sands. The next one I have here is Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers will be returning to practice for the Jets. I know there's some 21-day or whatever the hell nonsense waiver or whatever it is. I didn't care enough to do that much research. But so he will be returning to practice for the Jets. And my question is why? What is the purpose for him to return? The Jets are not very good offensively, but the team isn't doing well this year. The record isn't doing very well. It's late in the season. So my question is why? It's a serious injury, and to push it to come back this far, I get athletes, and I get competition, and I get ego, and I understand Aaron Rodgers' ego to a bit. But why? What would you really want to suffer another serious injury to come back to win a game or two for the Jets? To prove what? That you are the man? That you were the missing piece? I mean, I guess so. I understand being driven like that, but it just the injury that you could sustain, right? If he did something, he tore it again, or something else happened, you have a life to live. You're not that old. You have a life to live. Do you want to walk around in a cane now for the rest of your life? I mean, I look good with a cane, but you got to get the right cane. You got to have the right walk. But that's another story. But it just doesn't make any sense. Is someone's ego just that strong that they need to come back and prove something to who? And then act like I don't have anything to prove anybody. Well, that's a bunch of crap, because apparently you did. And not just to yourself. I just want to prove to myself you could do it. Okay. I mean, I could prove to myself that I could eat 15 hot dogs in 10 minutes, but it's not good. It's not going to end well later on somewhere. But yeah, I just don't understand what the point of it is. The third one here is our LSU basketball star, Angel Reese, is returning to the team after being gone for 2 weeks. And she was gone because we don't know. Because nobody said anything. She was just not at the facility. She wasn't at practices. She wasn't going to games. She wasn't doing anything anywhere. Coaches just said she's not with the team right now. Didn't say it was for an injury. I know I've read things that said it was because, issues that were in the locker room. But again, I've been around sports my entire life, coached for a long time. That can mean anything, right? That's a general statement. That's like when you go to the doctor and you're like, I don't feel good. Like, oh, it's a viral infection. Yeah, that's how things work. They're usually viral infections. Thank you for that. So we don't know why. And there's been a lot of speculation of just her general attitude, which I think if you watch anything, you could probably pick up on some of that. But I don't want to say anything. I'm not gonna, this young woman who has come into a lot of, has incredible skills, incredible talent, who comes into that amount of fame, and now, the NIL money for them as well, comes a lot of fame, a lot of money. Um, it can be difficult to traverse, right? You're not equipped for that. There's grown people who get fame and money and don't know what to do, let alone young college students. So if she's gone because of behavioral issues, I don't have a problem with it, right? Obviously I have a problem with the behavioral issues, but if you do it and you learn from it, which is what college and life and growing up is all about, and she learns from it and she comes out the other end and goes, wow, that's not how I should do things. I need to be better. If that's how things work out, then great, I'm all for it. If it's just I'm better than everybody else and it continues that way, probably not the best look in life. But it is interesting that she also has returned as LSU is facing top 25, top 10 programs again. Coincidence? I think not. My fourth for why is something that is, I don't want to say near and dear to my heart because it's not. So Arkansas has decided to bring back Bobby Petrino as their offensive coordinator. And for those of you who don't know the story of Bobby Petrino and Arkansas, or just Bobby Petrino in general, Bobby Petrino was a very coveted and successful college football coach. He was so coveted and so successful that he was hired by the Atlanta Falcons. And about 3/4 of a way through the season, and this is true, told everybody, "Hey, I'm going out to lunch. I'll see you all later." They all said bye. And then hours had passed, and everyone's like, "Where's Coach? He's not here." To then look up on the TV screen and see him at a Arkansas press conference saying that he was going to be the new head coach at Arkansas. And then they found the thanks for the memories letter that he had left in the locker room. So he decided, as being a head football coach in the NFL, nah, son, I disagree, not for me. And then just left. Didn't tell anybody, didn't actually quit, didn't do anything, just bounced and then got another job. I mean, mazel tov to him for having the ability to do. I wish I can do that. Just go out to lunch and then immediately get a new job. Good for him. But he goes to Arkansas, and whilst at Arkansas, has an affair with a college student who, when they graduate, gets them a job on the athletic staff for football, continues to have an affair with him that nobody really knows about until these two dopes get into a motorcycle accident with him and her, and then realize what is going on, and then Arkansas fires him because Bobby Petrino is an upstanding human being who quits on his teammates, cheats on his wife, just generally acts a fool with his usual fuckery, gets fired from Arkansas, but because it's the SEC and winning is all that matters, 11 years later, they all go, all's forgiven, welcome back. So welcome back to Bobby Petrino. I'm not going to say allegedly for any of this because this is all stuff on the record and public knowledge. But the fact that a school that would bring somebody back that behaves like this just shows where some people's priorities are. So good luck to you, Arkansas. I hope you're successful for the kids because I want them to be successful. But sometimes you should maybe just take a step back and go, is this really the look we want? Apparently it is. And then our final thing that we have here for why is Coach Prime and the issues at Colorado. And not just this year's issues, but what may be going forward, right? I think he got a little shock this year at Colorado, moving up to the big boys. And even though with everybody brought here and he came in and super brat, and I'm a Coach Prime guy. I love Deion Sanders, right? I love him. But there is a difference between being a high school coach, being a low-level college football coach, head coach, and then being the head coach at a large state university that plays major Division I college football. And you can hire all of the former pro football players you want, all the Hall of Famers you want, but just because somebody was a good player doesn't mean that they're a good coach or a good motivator or good at getting people to follow instructions or dealing with others or training people up or making other people good athletes, right? I'm good at something doesn't necessarily mean that I know how to teach you to be good at something. And the problems that he has had with calling out players in press conferences and whatever it happens to be is not a good look, right? These kids don't work this way. You cannot call them out the way that you call them out and expect them to then be like, oh, shit, I'm going to fall in line. You ain't Nick Saban. That ain't going to work for you. And I know I've seen other people be like, oh, look, Prime needs to move up. If he can't do it at Colorado successfully, moving to the SEC ain't going to make things any better. So he struggles to get recruits and then just these people can't commit to their old girlfriend. What do you think they're going to commit to us? Again, these kids don't work this way. Not the kids that you're looking for. Not the kids that you need. So you need to be a better coach first. Walking in and just going, I'm Coach Prime. That selling point only gets so far before you need to go into other moms and dads' living rooms and talk to them and be like, I'm the best person for your child to become a man, to become the best player they can be, to be successful in life, to be a college graduate, to do what they need to do for your family, to help this family going forward for generations to come. I'm the guy to do it. Just walking in with your shades, and fancy hat and your Prime logo on only gets you so far. And what I've seen so far this year isn't great. You've pissed off a lot of people. You've lost a lot of recruits that you could probably use, all because of your behavior of this general, if you don't want to be here and you don't want to be successful, then don't be here. That's not how this works. That's not how life works. It may have worked for you and your life to get where you need to be because it's easy to do that internally to motivate yourself. But to get large groups of people to buy in, it's difficult to behave that way when you're calling out massive chunks of your team, essentially calling them terrible and lazy and no good, and if they don't like it, then they can leave. Doesn't really build a strong unit, nor does it make other kids go, shit, I really want to go play for that guy. No, you're not Nick Saban again, right? Nick Saban could rip your ass because he's telling you what you need to hear to make yourself better. He's not doing it because he doesn't like what you're doing or he thinks that you're weak or not good enough. He's telling you to make you better because he believes you can do it. That's how you have to do things. You have to make these kids believe that you believe in them. That's what they need to hear. And just shitting on kids is not a great way to lead your program and to get more kids to turn around, especially when I hear everybody else talking about, hey, this guy needs to move up. He needs to go to the NFL. He needs to go to the SEC or one of these other bigger programs. If you can't do it at Colorado and make them better, SEC and the NFL ain't going to be any better for you as well. Well, that's it for today's program. Thank you guys for joining in. As always, I really do appreciate it. Let's see. Today's poll question, let's go with who do you think is going to be the Final Four when all the dust has settled after this championship weekend. Who do we think is going to be the Final Four? I have my thoughts, but I'm going to wait till next week so that I can just say whatever the answers are and then act like I'm smarter than everybody else. But as always, thank you guys for listening. I really do appreciate it. Feel free to leave a comment, threats, violence, just general, how is it that one person can be this awesome? Feel free to ask whatever you want. I'm open to any questions, but hope you guys have a good weekend. Enjoy it depending on where you are. Hope you don't freeze to death. I went outside to take the trash out yesterday, and I think I lost a finger. It's somewhere around here. I'll find it. But so stay warm, stay happy, stay healthy. Watch some football, right? College football is championship weekend. We only got a couple left. Let's enjoy it, have some fun. Watch your games, get some chips, get some soda, get fat. Screw it. You only live once, twice if you're me. But enjoy your weekend. We'll talk next week. See what happens. Go over the bowls, go over the championship 4, see what we got, discuss some other things. Have some fun. But thank you as always for listening. Talk to you soon. Dig in.